Hello and welcome to the Next in Line podcast, where we are helping to prepare you for whatever is next in line. As always, I am your host, Chance Pitts, and I'd like to thank you for tuning into this episode. Guys and gals, welcome into the Next in Line podcast. We are super excited to have y'all here on this episode. It is 9/11 while we are filming this podcast. I know this episode is going to drop on 9/12, but I think it's important for us to take just a second and show some respect and show some love to those who lost their lives in this tragic event so many years ago. So if you could, guys, I would ask that you join me in a very brief moment of silence. Guys, thank y'all so much for that. Also, guys, we have a little bit of housekeeping that I would like to get out of the way right quick at the beginning of this podcast. If you receive value from this episode or any other episode of the Next Line podcast, I would ask that you share the show with like-minded individuals who might receive that same kind of value. That's the number one way for us to grow and to reach a larger audience. And guys, in effect, we get to help more people when we reach more people. Along with that, guys, you can leave us a rating, review, a comment, a like, subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on, and that interaction will also help us pop up in the search bar a little bit earlier when people look for personal development or self-help type shows. You can also check us out, keep up with all the daily content and all the antics we have going on at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We're very active on all those platforms, and that's where we actually get most of our feedback from as well. It usually comes in the form of someone shooting us a DM or responding to a story or commenting on a post that we have, just letting us know that you like what we're doing or that, honestly, maybe we're doing something a little bit wrong, maybe a little bit controversial. You can reach out in that way as well. But guys, 99% of what we've gotten so far has been positive feedback, and we really appreciate that. We saw a lot of love on the last episode that we just dropped. I think that was episode 70, the Next in Line interview with Billy Pitts. That is my dad. A great conversation. If you haven't listened to it, I encourage you to go back and do so, just because it really had a great positive impact on me, and I know it can do the same for you. Now, guys, I have been working on getting back in the swing of things after my latest ultra marathon, and I'm really looking forward to this week because I've done a lot of prep work. I've done a lot of things to get myself moving in a positive direction. I've got the meal prep up and going. I've got some Cajun chicken and brown rice. I've got some lemon pepper chicken and brown rice in the fridge ready to go so that I'm making sure I'm on the diet I need to be on for this week. Along with that, guys, I've got my lifting plans for workouts. I've got my running plans all edged out, and I've taken some extra time to make sure that I'm mentally fortifying myself for the different issues and problems that this week's going to throw at me, and making sure that I'm ready to put a positive spin on them and just move them in the best way possible to serve me. And guys, that's something I just wanted to share with y'all because I feel like we could all benefit from going through, taking inventory of what's going to come our way this week, mentally preparing, but also physically preparing by making that schedule for your workouts. Go ahead and making your meal preps happen just so you can be ready for whatever it throws at you, guys, because it's that much easier for you to be successful and try to reach your goals as you get these other problems thrown your way and these little things that throw your schedule off. But guys, along with that, I really, really want to share a lesson that I have for y'all. You know what? Actually, just before we get into that, I'm a little bit excited about this, so I'm going to share it with you as well. Guys, this is the first solo episode in the podcast studio. We're doing a little bit of renovations. We're doing some rebranding, and I really want to share that with you too. What we're doing, guys, is obviously the podcast studio's all the way edged out now. We've got the screen with the Next in Line logo on it. We've got this awesome table that seats 4 so we can get some more people in here for interviews and conversations. We've got about 3 good ones lined up here for you that should be happening in the near future, so be on the lookout for those. I've also been able to put my personal development stuff and my awards from the races I've been able to complete on the top shelf up there as well, just kind of as a reminder of how far we've come and the things we've been able to accomplish in this last couple of years, guys. So thank y'all so much for humoring me with listening to that and me being a little bit excited about this podcast studio that we worked very, very hard on. But guys, let's go ahead and get into that lesson for today. And the lesson that I want to share with y'all is making sure that we are open for business. And what do I mean by being open for business, guys? I mean being ready for the opportunities that come our way. If you go to a restaurant or you go to a store and they're not ready to do business, they maybe don't have the merchandise they're supposed to have. Maybe they don't have the registers set up. Maybe their credit card machine's down. Maybe their employees didn't show up for work that day. Whatever it is, if there's an element of things missing and things are not quite the way they need to be for you to be successful, that store's not going to do as well. There's going to be customers that get upset. They're going to walk out. Some of them will never come back. But guys, that's what we need to keep in mind in life, is that there's a lot of opportunities that come our way, just like those customers come towards the store to purchase and to grow that business and to give it an opportunity to earn a future customer again. Those things come our way in life, and we get nudges and we get pulls to pay attention to opportunities that come our way, and we get just different things trying to get us to move our lives in a positive direction and continue down the proper path. And we need to make sure that we are physically and mentally and spiritually sound and fit enough to be able to take on those endeavors and to be open for business. Now, I wanted to lead with a couple of examples of my own personal life of opportunities where I just so happened to be open for business, and it just completely changed my life. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this. If you're not on Spotify, or if you're on Spotify or one of the other platforms with just audio, you're going to miss out on this one. But guys, right now I'm sitting here wearing my 3 of 7 Project 50K shirt. Now this shirt is one of my favorites. It's one that I got in Georgia exactly 1 year ago today. I ran their race on 9/11 last year out there with the 3 of 7 Project team. It was a phenomenal event. They did a great job of making sure that they honored and showed some respect for the individuals that lost their lives, but also more than that, the individuals that are still out there serving and giving us the opportunity to run races and giving us the opportunity to build out podcast studios and record podcasts and develop ourselves and become better. So shout out to them for that. That's phenomenal, guys. If you haven't checked them out, I encourage you to do so. But what I didn't understand about this race was the impact that it was going to have on my life. You see, when the opportunity came knocking, it was right at the end of my 75 hard journey. I listened to the podcast pretty religiously up to that point, and one day they came on and said basically that if you have never ran an ultramarathon before and you really want to run one, we encourage you to come out and try this race that we have going on. It's a 50K. It is the shortest ultramarathon, but it is still going to be a very good challenge. And we will make sure that we stick with you to help you finish this race and to help you achieve the goal that we all have in mind. So whenever I heard that, guys, on the podcast at the end of 75 hard, I was in a spot where I was open for business. And what I mean by that was I had been running very regularly. I was in the best physical shape of my life. I was mentally more tough than I had ever been before. So whenever I heard the challenge of running a race that was longer than a typical marathon, longer than this thing that hardly anyone goes out and does, this bucket list type goal for people, I looked at it very, very closely and said, you know what? I'm going to take this on. So I kicked up my training a little bit. I did a little bit of research, and I got myself on a plane and ready to go so I could take on this race. And it ended up being phenomenal. I finished 12th out of 118 people in this race. I learned more about myself than I ever could before. I had this crazy spiritual, emotional, mental transition that went on through this event, guys. And it was like it was unlike anything I can describe. That first time going through something that hard and forcing myself to complete it. It was this life-altering experience. In fact, it actually changed the entire trajectory of my personal development and my life, my health, my fitness overall. Y'all guys that have been here a little while know the story of what I've been able to accomplish in the past year with ultra running. And I know I've given some examples and shared some information, but guys, on this shelf behind me, there's a bunch of buckles, there's a bunch of medals and different things from me being able to complete several ultramarathons. I have, since completing that one, carried on that path, and I have moved along that path to now completing a second 50K ultramarathon, completing a 100K ultramarathon that's just over 60 miles, and most recently, guys, taking on that 100-mile ultramarathon And along the way to that, guys, even winning a trail marathon of 26.2 miles. So just physically, guys, without being open for business and open to that opportunity and poised and ready for it and allowing myself to feel that tug and feel that, hey, this is something you need to go take on and you need to do. Without letting myself do that, I would have never had the experiences. I would have never taken on these races. I would have never understood the capacity and the ability that is within me, because from these experiences and from these different events that I've been able to take on this past year and a half, I have now looked at it very, very openly and figured out if I can run 100 miles, if I can run 60 miles, any of these things, there is very, very little in this world that I will not be able to achieve if I truly work for it and set my mind to it. And that's changed the complete way that I look at every single thing in my life, whether it's with my wife and my marriage, whether it's with my finances, whether it's with my career, it's with this house and building this studio. Guys, it just opened so many different doors for me. And it makes me think about that stupid movie with Jim Carrey as well. That's a great example of this being open for business. It's a movie called Yes Man. For those of you that have seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those of you that don't, Jim Carrey plays a character that lives a very kind of mundane life. He just lives a boring life. He always says no to opportunity. He always says no to anything new that comes his way. And it leaves him somewhat empty. It leaves him in a space where he doesn't feel like he's reaching his full potential. And one day he gets drug along to a seminar called The Power of Yes, I think, or something like that. And he is convinced to become a yes man, to say yes to every single opportunity that comes his way. Now, guys, this is a little bit extreme, and it gets him into some trouble and goes through some wacky antics and puts him in some weird situations, but the overall message of the movie is very powerful, because by saying yes, he actually opens himself up to some phenomenal opportunities. By saying yes, he starts seeing a girl that he really, really ends up falling in love with. By saying yes, he excels in his career. He excels in his social life. He's able to save a man on a ledge that's going to commit suicide. Now, guys, I know this is just a movie and it's kind of a goofy one at that, but it gives a prime example of him being open for business and him allowing himself to take advantage of the opportunities and the little tugs that came his way that grabbed his attention and wanted to move him in the proper direction. And guys, that yes man is a fictional example, but here, I'll hit you with a more regular one and a more open one for me here that I actually experienced this morning. I've always been one that kind of shies away from organized religion and church. I have definitely dove more into my Christianity here. I've dove more into my relationship with God since I've started doing this running and these physical activities and developing myself. And it's helped me in a lot of different ways, but I've always still been skeptical of religion just because of my past experiences. And I don't want to wish anything bad on anybody. I don't want to push any opinions on anybody. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea here at all. But I kind of wrote it off. And we decided to go to a church after an invitation from some friends, which was the first pull to go in that direction. And that little pull got us interested in going to this church today. I think it was Alamo City Church or Alamo Community Church today. And we had decided that we were going to go. So we decided to go and just hear the message. Well, whenever we got there, guys, it was like the guy was talking directly to me. He was talking about personal development. He was talking about religion in a way that I've never seen it, in a light that I've never had it spoken to me in. It is exactly what we are trying to do. He talked about finding your purpose. He talked about helping others. He talked about understanding the path that you're on. He talked about exactly what we're talking about right here. And the funny thing is, I had already wrote out a lot of this show and a lot of this episode and this lesson I was going to talk to you about. But he tied straight into it by saying the path that we're on isn't always the path that we want to be on. It's not always the path that we lay down for ourselves. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we accept that there's a path that's laid for us and that there's certain things that pull us along that path and push us in certain directions, then the sooner we're able to achieve the things that we want to achieve in life. The sooner that we are able to find true happiness and we're able to find our true purpose. And that hit home with me so well today because, guys, I've been struggling to find that purpose. I've really been trying to explore what Next in Line is, what it can be, how it can help people. And as I've made myself available here lately, it's done nothing but allow me to be exposed to opportunity and just honestly flourish this beautiful network around me that has given me the opportunity to dive into so many different endeavors. And guys, one of those endeavors is that, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of y'all have seen the First Form shirts and the First Form supplements that I've had. I am actually a Legionnaire for First Form now. I do coaching and advising in their app for physical activity and for nutrition. That's something y'all can actually sign up for. I'm not going to advertise it. I'm not going to be the kind of person that forces that on y'all. And I'm dang sure not going to try to push and sell supplements to y'all either, because that's not the purpose of what we have going on here with Next in Line. Now, this is a platform that I can help utilize if anybody does want coaching or anybody wants to understand why I do things the way I do or how I do them, or anybody that's looking to improve their health. That is an avenue and that is an opportunity. You can shoot a message to me or whatever, but like I said, it's not going to be something that I force on y'all. It's not going to be something that I advertise. This will probably be one of the only times you hear about it. But it ties directly into a story and an opportunity that I had come in with being open for business, and that's why I chose to share that with y'all here. So recently, I've gotten into that Legionnaire program, and I've started working with advising and coaching and trying to find ways to impact others in a positive way with their health. And I've also been working with a nonprofit organization and an individual that's involved with that nonprofit organization that does some equine therapy, that does some just service for people that have PTSD, that have gone through traumatic events, and it's kind of like a retreat for them. And if you've listened to the podcast, you probably know who that is. Well, just to kind of tie this network all together, I'm going to jump around a little bit, but I promise it all makes sense. So I started doing some Legionnaire work with First Form and advising and coaching. I started working with this nonprofit and getting involved with this equine therapy and trying to find opportunities to volunteer. Well, here recently, they reached out to me with an opportunity, and I'm signed up to go help with an event out at Fort Hood, serving food and just kind of hospitality service for for active duty soldiers out on base on Fort Hood, and that's coming up this weekend. So I've been kind of sharing that with my dad and telling him what I'm doing and who I'm working with and the opportunities that I've had. So from that, my dad has a good friend that just out of the blue called him one day and started talking to him about the things that he wants to do in life, and that he was actively involved in helping others and being kind of a point of assistance, a point of help, really just put himself out there to be beneficial to others, to serve others. And he missed that. He had a friend that he did some equine therapy stuff with back up north, and he really wanted to find that opportunity down here, and he wanted to be able to achieve some of those things and get back to helping people. And this was totally unprompted. It was totally unrelated. My dad hadn't told him anything about the work I'm doing with the nonprofit or anything like that prior to this. And because of the story that I had shared, because I had made myself open and I shared that experience with my dad told this guy about it, and their goals align, their experiences align with the equine therapy, with the helping others, and they're always looking for volunteers out at this nonprofit. So through that relationship and through being open to business and just kind of keeping my eyes, ears, and network open, guys, for these opportunities, we're going to be able to link those guys up and to give them an opportunity to have a mutually beneficial relationship and to move everything that they can do in a positive direction. So that's a really cool thing. And whenever I called the gentleman that's at the nonprofit to tell him about it, I was on the phone with him, and I filled him in. We were both super excited and amped about it. And he asked a follow-up question to me. He said, "Well, man, what else is going on with you? What's new?" And this is where we circle back a little bit. I told him, I said, "Look, I'm a First Form Legionnaire now. I'm doing some training and advising for health, fitness, just nutrition, all those things." And he said, "Wow, really?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Man, just yesterday we were talking about adding in the nutrition and the health and fitness aspect into the nonprofit organization. So that might be something we can talk about in the future." And just from that, guys, it's just another opportunity of being in the right place, the right time, but being open for business. I put myself in a spot to be able to do some coaching, to do some advising, to help people with their nutrition, their fitness, and all these things. And the endeavor's just tied all together, guys. This network, this spider web, has come full circle. And there's some great opportunities that have come up with that. And now with that as well, guys, just putting our story out there, getting some of these interviews and giving these opportunities for people to come and share their story, I've had other individuals reach out to me and reach out to others that want to share their experiences. They've had some very traumatic events in their life. They've had some very low points that they found themselves at in their lives. And we're just able to grow this movement and just continue to push it forward and just expand and explode this network because I have put myself out there and I have made myself open for business. And guys, that's the lesson here. That's the take home. Through this journey, you're going to feel pokes, prods, pushes, whatever it is that tells you that you should be doing something or you shouldn't be doing something. Maybe if you're thinking about your diet, guys, if you go and get in that line, that drive-through line for fast food, and you feel a little bit guilty, guys. Maybe you feel a little bit embarrassed of being there. Maybe you understand that you're not where you're supposed to be on your diet. You're not eating something that's going to be beneficial. Whenever that thought pops in your head, guys, that's a push, that's a pull to get you on the path that you need to be on so that you can be open to business. You've got to honestly be open for business right there. Be open to the opportunity, that little push or pull that's going to move you in the right direction. At the end, if you go through with eating the fast food and you feel like crap afterwards, that little emotion of feeling like crap or that little sickness that you're experiencing or whatever it is, that's a push or a pull to go in the right direction, guys. Whenever you find yourself out and about and you're maybe at the beach with your friends and family or whatever it is, and you find yourself a little bit embarrassed to be in your swimsuit, guys, that little embarrassment and that negative emotion is a push or a pull in the right direction. You just have to make yourself available, and you have to understand that those things are going to come and present themselves in weird ways. But you have to understand, guys, be open to seeing those things. Because if you start to act on those little things, those little prods, the pokes, the pulls, whatever you want to call them, if you start to let your life be moved in a positive direction, you start to understand that those things are there to serve you and to put you on the correct path, it is going to explode your opportunities as well, just like it's done for me. Because from that, guys, you feel that little urge and you feel that little voice in the back of your head say, hey, you shouldn't be eating that. Or, hey, maybe you should go for a run today. Or maybe you should try to be a little bit active. And those are just the little things that are going to help you become the best you that you can be. And they're in your finances, guys. Whenever you want to go out and purchase that big, nice new truck, but you know that you should get something much more practical so you don't put yourself in a bind. That little voice, that little push in the right direction, make yourself open for that, guys. Allow yourself to move yourself in the right direction. You are there and you are knowledgeable and you know what you need to do already, guys. But are you willing to make yourself open for business? Are you willing to take the actions that you have to take? Are you willing to make the sacrifices that you need to make to move yourself in a positive direction? 99% of people these days are not, and that's why we end up in the positions that we are. There's a overwhelming amount of debt in society today and people enduring financial hardship. There's an overwhelming amount of people that are obese or overweight or unhealthy in some regard to their weight or chronic diseases that are associated with being overweight. There's a massive amount of people that are not physically active, and because of that, they have all kinds of chronic pain with their knees, their backs, their neck, whatever it is, guys. But what you can do right now is you can work to make yourself open. You can start listening to the opportunities. You can start listening to all those things trying to rear their heads up in your life and start to move yourself in the right direction. Guys, that's really all I got for the lesson today. Whenever I took the time to open myself up and I gave myself the opportunity to move myself in the right direction by being open for business, it completely changed my life. But guys, make sure you're sharing the show with like-minded individuals like we talked about. Make sure you're checking us out on social media. That's at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We love to hear from you there, guys. And always be prepared for whatever is next in line.